Hello and welcome to Naranaya's Academy. Today, as part of our daily news analysis, I'm going to cover most important and most relevant news articles. We'll be covering them in depth, we'll be covering them in a comprehensive manner. Now, before we start, I have a quote for you. It is better to fail in originality than to succeed in imitation. Because most of the times we observe that whether it is about students or any other person, most of the people, they go for imitation, they go for copying others. But by copying you cannot get the real success, because your weaknesses are different, your strengths are different, you are unique, everyone is unique. And that's the reason we should rather choose not to go for imitation but for the originality, for our own self conscious creativity and originality. Okay, this is the right way to lead our life. Now, moving ahead. Okay, so there was some technical issue, so let's proceed. See, there's a notification from Narana's Academy that our 1 year and 2 year courses are active. The registrations are open. You can go for that QR code and access these courses. Okay, the details of this course is provided on the website. Over here also you can get all these details. Okay, so let's move ahead and look at these articles. So I've chosen total 6 articles. The first article is related to India's deep sea mission. So India is going for mining in the deep oceans, and there's we are facing some kind of challenges. So we want to study that part over here. The second article, integrated tri-service exercise. Now there is an exercise, military exercise conducted in Arunachal Pradesh, and all the services, army, navy, air force, all are present in this. So this is an important one. Third, women unbound, editorial from your The Hindu. Now in this article specifically we will be dealing with women and the problems they are facing in terms of public safety. So here we'll be dealing with all the legal mechanisms that are present, all the government initiatives government has come up with for the security of women. Then the next article is US defense ties. India needs to keep its eyes open. See, India-US defense ties, these are in news since a long time. Especially this year, we are observing that this news is repeating again and again. Now, here what we will be focusing on specifically is the core timeline of the evolution of India-US defense relationship. And we'll focus on one report, that is the SIPRI report. We had covered in detail already, but here we'll be focusing on that report and we'll show what kind of role this defense ties play when it comes to India-US relationship. Then the fifth article is about judiciary. So in recent times, judiciary is under some controversy. Especially there is a recent case wherein we found some cash at the home of a judge, and that's the reason it is in news. Right now in this article, what is more important is to go for the debate around NJAC. Okay. And the last article is about free movement regime. This is with respect to India and Myanmar border. So these are your 6 articles of the day, and we'll start with the first article, that is India's deep sea mission or deep sea challenge. Now this article is important from your prelims as well as mains perspective. In mains, your science and technology part, it includes indigenization of technology. Also in your geography part, this deep sea mission becomes important to study. Now see, you can read this previous year question. What is India's plan to have its own space station and how will it benefit our space program? Now this question is focusing on the space program. And now what we are going to discuss is this deep sea mission. So there can be a question, instead of space, they may focus on this deep ocean part. Similar question can be expected in the mains examination. Okay. So what is the news? Why we are reading about it? So India has recently tested Matsya 6000. Now what is Matsya 6000? It's a submersible. But we want to know what is submersible. Submersible is kind of a vehicle which can go inside this water. If there is ocean or sea, it can remain underwater for a long duration. It's a vehicle which goes underwater. It is called submersible. Now there can be a submersible which can remain in lesser depth. Let's say this is the overall depth of the ocean. Some submersibles, they'll be operating in this much area. Some will be operating in this much area. But when we talk about deep sea, so we are talking about the final depth of the ocean. When we are going very deep in the oceans, in that area, the pressure will be very high, temperature will be very low. And in such areas where extreme conditions are existing, if there a submersible can operate, that is called deep sea submersible. Now we have tested this Matsya 6000 and we are calling it India's first manned deep sea submersible. Now see, this submersible could have some humans present in it. See, just like any other vehicle, let's say we have a car, we have a human being sitting inside. That is possible in the submersible. But there is also a possibility wherein there cannot be any human being and it can run automatically. Or let's say we have some remote controller, we have some control over here. So it can be a manned mission or it can be an unmanned mission. So right now when we are dealing with Matsya 6000, it is a manned mission. First manned deep sea submersible. And we are testing it. We have not yet completely developed this Matsya 6000. We are still working on it. We are testing it. Now, who is doing all this stuff? Who is organizing it or developing it? So, we have Ministry of Earth Science. Under this ministry, we have this National Institute of Ocean Technology, which is located at Chennai. This agency or this institute is taking care of all this mission of developing this Matsya 6000. And are they getting any amount or any funding from the government? Certainly yes. But there is a broader program under which all of this is happening. See, we have a broader program. The name of that program is Deep Ocean Mission. Now this is the major program launched by Ministry of Earth Science. This was launched in the year 2021 and government said that they are going to allocate around 4077 crore rupees because it is an ambitious program. So they said that we'll go for phase wise implementation. The program is supposed to be going for 5 years but in a phase wise manner. So in the first phase they have allocated budget of 2823 crore rupees. Now when you look at this entire project, it is talking about deep ocean. So in the deep ocean, whatever resources are present, so we want to extract those resources. We want to study those resources. We want to explore them because most of the resources we are not even aware of. And that's why we want to go there, study them, and then extract it if it is economically beneficial for us. So this is the entire project. Now, when you look at this project, it can be divided into different components. There are total 6 major components of this umbrella project or major project called Deep Ocean Mission. So it will include first the development of manned submersible man submersible, that is this Matsya 6000. So can you understand, the major project is this Deep Ocean Mission. The part of this mission is this development of manned submersible. There is also one more term that we use for this. We call it Samudrayaan mission. So just like we have Gaganyaan mission to send some human beings to the space, similarly we have Samudrayaan mission to send some human beings in the depth of the oceans or the deep oceans. Okay, so for that you need a submersible which is capable of doing all this thing, and that submersible is your Matsya 6000. Now apart from this one thing, this deep ocean mission includes many other components. For example, development of technologies for deep sea mining and exploration. So let's say India decides that we'll go for mining in that deep ocean areas. So there are some resources we want to mine. We want to extract those resources. For that we require special technology. So developing that is also part of it. Then study of ocean climate change and deep sea biodiversity. When you look at the deep oceans, there you will find new kinds of animals, new kinds of species. Those species are not available here on the surface level. So the biodiversity at this location is very different and we want to study that. Okay. Then bioprospecting of deep sea flora and fauna, same, you are going for that prospecting aspect. Development of underwater robotics and marine technology, and then establishment of dedicated deep ocean research and testing infrastructure. So overall, when you read all these components, you can understand that it is a major umbrella project. Okay, and all these aspects, all these components depend mostly on this first major component, that is development of this Matsya 6000. Clear? Now let's get back to our Matsya 6000. Now what are these features? What exactly this Matsya 6000 is capable of doing? First of all, it can operate in the depth of 6 kilometers. So can you imagine? You can go 6 kilometers, and at this level, this Matsya 6000 can easily operate. Okay, it can carry 3 human beings, 3 people. That is its capability. Then, if you look at its structure, it includes titanium alloy sphere which can resist atmosphere pressure of 6,000 times. See, I said when you go deeper in the oceans, the pressure is going to be very high. So, whatever submersible or vehicle you're sending over there, it should be capable of resisting very high pressure. And this Matsya 6000 is capable of resisting pressure up to 600 times because it is using this titanium alloy. Okay. Then for how much time it can stay there, the endurance part. So somewhere around 12 hours it stays underwater in a normal condition. And in case of emergency it can stay there for at least 96 hours. So very good capability we can say. Then the technology aspect includes navigation, sonar, robotic arms, lights, sampling tools. All these technical parts are there. All these things are part of this Matsya 6000. Okay. Now the first question that may arise in our mind is, why do we need to focus on this deep sea area? Why are we even going there? We have our territorial areas. Why are we not happy with it? Why do we need to go to deep sea areas? You can imagine, this is the map of India. This is your Indian Ocean part. So here, somewhere here, if we are going, and in the deep oceans, we are going for some kind of extraction, some kind of study. Why are we even interested in that? So first of all, there is a strategic significance of this area. See, for any country, there is something called exclusive economic zone. So you have your borders. So India's border, let's say at the tip of Kerala, somewhere over here, our border ends, or here somewhere at Gujarat or somewhere here. So beyond this area, we do not have our political authorities. But when you look at the international arrangement under UN clause treaty, it says that 200 nautical miles 200 nautical miles from your territorial boundary, the region which is part of the oceans, but it is under this 200 nautical miles region. That area is your exclusive economic zone. What do we mean by exclusive economic zone? The country, the same country will have right in economic sense. So if there are some resources in that area, they can go ahead and extract those resources. Okay, that is the exclusive economic zone. So as far as India is concerned, India's exclusive economic zone is somewhere around 2.2 million square kilometer. Such a expansive, or such heavy, not heavy, we can say very much expansive and very much extensive region is available for us. We can go for these many economic extractions. Second, we have one body called ISA, International Seabed Authority. Now, the Seabed Authority, what do they do? They check entire world and they allot some areas to some particular countries. And they say that this country can go for mining in that area for a few years, let's say for 10 years, 20 years, etc. Now, as far as India is concerned, this ISA has allotted some area in the central Indian Ocean. So let's say this is India, this is your Indian Ocean, so the central part of Indian Ocean. In that area, 75,000 square kilometer block has been assigned or allotted to India. India can go for mining, deep ocean mining in this area. Whatever we want to do, we can do over here. Okay. And most importantly, the region already is very important for us. When you look at Indian Ocean, it is highly important, especially considering the aspect of undersea warfare and security part, maritime security part. Somewhere we will have our undersea cables over there. We will have our submarines over there. So the area itself is very sensitive and strategically important for us. Okay. That's why we look at this deep sea area. Now, second angle is your economic and technological angle. So you see, India holds 380 million tons of polymetallic nodules. Now, polymetallic nodules, these are like some kind of lumps of rocks, and they are present at deep ocean beds. So if this is the ocean, this is the ocean bed. Here you will find some polymetallic nodules. So they are like some lumps of rocks in which you will get nickel, cobalt, copper, manganese, etc. All these things you will get over there. And these things are very important for us. These elements are very important for our electric vehicles, for our electronic chips, for our clean or renewable energy sources, nuclear energy source, or wherever these are required, not for nuclear energy specifically, but for technological aspects involving these things. So here we can say these polymetallic nodules, India already has 380 million tons, but we have to import them many a times. Let's say we are developing our electric vehicle industry. For that we have to import a lot of this nickel, cobalt, copper, manganese, etc., etc. But instead of going for import, if we go for deep sea mining, then we can reduce our import. So that will be a good way. Then, as far as our blue economy target is concerned, we say that we have a target of $1 trillion by 2035. We want to earn this much money through blue economy. So, extraction of these polymetallic nodules could also add in our economic activity which is part of this blue economy. Now the next part is the scientific and environmental benefits. I said that the biodiversity in this deep sea area is something that is unknown to humankind. We do not know much about the animals or flora or fauna that are present over there in that area. So when we study that, this is going to be very much helpful for us. Helpful in a way, let's say we have some applications in terms of medicine, or we may study with respect to the climate change. So many things will be available for us. Okay. Now we have already discussed this deep ocean mission. Now see, it's not like only India is working on any such project, or India is developing submersible and not others are not doing that thing. No, there are many countries like China, USA, Japan, France, Russia. All of them have either already developed such submersibles, or they are still developing, or they are upgrading. So let's say if I talk about China, they have this submersible called Fendoze. USA has Alvin, Japan has Shinkai 6500, France has Nautile, Russia has Mir. Now this Mir is very famous because they are going to use it for the Arctic area. Already we are observing that the ice in the Arctic region, it is melting. And for this Arctic area, whenever they want to go for this deep ocean or deep sea mining, they're using this Mir submersible. And as far as India is concerned, we have this Matsya 6000, but it is still under development. We are still testing it. Okay. Now, when we are going for such projects, when we look at this entire deep ocean mission, what we understand is we are going to face some major challenges. First challenge will be technological. So we said that there is going to be very extreme pressure in this area. So we need titanium hulls. And again, we might need to import this titanium. We might need to go for searching resources or reserves of titanium for that. Okay. Then we need advanced artificial intelligence and robotics so that we can go for this kind of a mining, because it is very difficult. This technological aspect is important. Then in that region, communication and navigation is very difficult. Let's say you have two submersible or two different vehicles. If they want to communicate, it is very difficult in the deep oceans. Okay, even if they are providing some kind of a noise, or let's say some sonar, even that will not be easily understandable, or let's say it cannot be cached very easily by the other side. So we are saying technological challenges are going to be there. Then second angle is institutional. Right now in India, we do not have any centralized authority or centralized marine body which can take care of all these things, which can come up with its own research, which can come up with its own funding. All this is not present over here. Second thing, we have structures which are not collaborating well. So we have our academia, we have our industry, we have our research and development networks, but all three are not collaborating well. Okay, so there is a very weak linkage when it comes to these three areas or these three institutions. Then we have a shortage of skilled personnel. So the technical people or the engineers who are required in this process, we have shortage of such skilled personnel. This is institutional dimension. Then we have environmental dimension. So when you go for this seabed mining, this ecosystem which is already very delicate, we're not even aware of the ecosystem or the entire biodiversity in this area. So there is a possibility in our mining, through our mining, we are going to make damage to the ecosystem. Okay, and that's the reason what we need is we need to go for environmental impact assessment before moving ahead with all our programs. We need to be very much cautious while leading this entire program. And when we talk about this UN clause treaty, UN clause has already provided some regulatory guidelines. We have to follow all those regulatory guidelines. Okay. So if we know the challenges, we can provide the solution also. So what could be the way forward? So I've divided way forward in the short term, medium term, and long term way. So in the short term, what all we can do? First of all, focus on our project called this Matsya 6000. Complete its trials, go for whatever experimentations you want to do, complete this program. Then start your pilot seabed mining. So go for that Central Indian Ocean area which is allotted to us by this International Seabed Authority, and go for pilot program. Just for some area, go for this pilot seabed mining. Okay. And then you also need to train your marine experts. You need technical people, so you need to give them training. This you can do in the short term. Then in the medium term, what all you can do? First, you can establish National Seabed Research, National Deep Sea Research University. So this university can specially work on all these dimensions. They can come up with their own studies, and you will have skilled personnels who are educated in the same line. Okay. Then you can support marine tech startups. Now this is where you first started the education dimension. Here you will go for the economic dimension. So you can go for supporting marine tech startups. So these startups would be coming from private sector, or even government can go for some partnership with the private sector, or such PPP, public private partnership, can be a part of it. And then we can promote DRDO, ISRO, and academia collaboration. DRDO is having some knowledge, ISRO is having some knowledge, academia is having some knowledge. If they collaborate, then we will have some concrete information or some good information, and we can have some good programs leading in the same direction in which our deep ocean mission is planned. Okay. Now what we can do in long term? First of all, when you're going for this deep sea mining, it should be done in an ethical manner. Now there will be competition around the world, and those who are powerful, they will try to gain access to maximum resources. They'll try to control most of the area. So when India is going for deep sea mining, India should adhere to ethical practices. So that will set an example. Then we should export our technology, whatever we developed, whatever we study, we can export that to the global south or the developing countries. And at last, we can align our blue economy vision and our maritime diplomacy. So overall, all this is going to be part of our foreign policy also, maritime diplomacy also. Okay. So this is all about this deep ocean challenges, deep sea challenges. Okay. Now let's move ahead with the second article of the day. Integrated tri-service exercise held in Arunachal. Now this article is important for your prelims as well as mains. Most probably there can be a question in the prelims examination on this particular exercise. The name of the exercise could be directly asked. Now I suggest you to please read this previous year question asked in the year 2019. I'll give you 5-10 seconds. Please read it. So if you read this entire question, you will understand that they have directly asked a question on exercise Mitra Shakti 2023. Now, unless you are aware of all the factual part related to this exercise, if you haven't read about it, you can't solve this question. There's nothing like you can go for elimination over here. You need to know about it. Okay. Now see, what is exercise Prachand Prahaar? Now this is the exercise which was recently conducted in the Arunachal Pradesh. The name is Prachand Prahaar exercise. Now, first of all, this is integrated tri-service military exercise. Tri-service means Army, Navy, Air Force, all are involved. See, usually what we observe, We have army which is independently operating. We have navy which is independently operating. We have air force which is independently operating. And throughout history, or the challenges we have seen in our historical battles, especially when we talk about Kargil war. So there was a report which clearly said that because our three forces are not in a position to operate in a way that helps each other, because we never operated that way. All three are independently operating. They are not collaborating, they are not operating in a way that one can help the other. If army requires some help from the air force suddenly through in the battle, they are not even having that kind of communications. So there was a problem. And that's why what Indian government is trying to do at this moment, or the defense minister is trying to do, to go for integrated approach wherein we can have all three services together, and whenever we are going for any battle or any war, all three services can work together, they can help each other, we can reduce our resources or we can have efficient resources. So this exercise is a tri-service military exercise. Now what has been kept in mind when this exercise is conducted is there can be a future war. We have to be ready for this future war. And this war could be at this locality, this Arunachal Pradesh area, especially what we call as high altitude terrain. The height is very high, and in this region, if there is any warlike condition in future, we should be ready. That's why we conducted this exercise as a practice. Now see, when you look at army, when you look at our force, you'll see that they have different command structures. So they have central command having the headquarter at Lucknow, then they have eastern command, northern command, then they have western command, then training command at Shimla, southern command and southwestern command. And the core headquarter is in New Delhi. Now out of all these, we are focusing on eastern command whose headquarter is located in Kolkata. I am saying all this program, all this exercise Prachand Prahaar, this is arranged or organized by this Eastern Command of the Army. Okay. Now, there is one important thing about this exercise, that it has focused on multi-domain areas. See, domain means on which dimension you are going to fight. So let's say you're fighting on land. So that is one dimension. So the role of army will increase. If you're fighting a war in the air, so a role of air force increases. If you're fighting a war in the sea, then role of navy increases. But now two more dimensions are added in this modern warfare, wherein cyber and space, these two new dimensions have become highly important. So there can be a war in the space. One country might attack your satellites, and there can be a war in terms of cyber. So there can be cyber attacks, there can be massive cyber attacks, and all these dimensions are integrated over here and are focused in this exercise. So this shows that we are preparing ourselves for a modern warfare. Traditionally we never thought about cyber or space. Now we are thinking about it, considering it. Okay, so that's why we say it is simulated modern warfare. We are considering all these dimensions, and there is jointness and interoperability. Now when we say interoperability, army, navy, air force, all are integrating all their resources. Okay, now there is one more term which is related to this dimension, is theater command. Theater command, or we call it integrated theater command. So when we say we are making some new battalions, and these battalions will have people from all the three forces, that will be called your theater command. So let's say there is one battalion situated at Andaman Nicobar. It will be not a battalion of army or battalion of navy as such. It will be an integrated theater command which will have officers or soldiers from all three forces. So for them to become interoperable, this exercise is conducted. Now, earlier in the year 2024 November, this exercise Purvi Prahar was conducted. So we have actually continued our work. We first did this one, and in the same pathway, we are moving ahead with this new exercise. So when we talked about this Purvi Prahar, there we focused on aviation asset integration. Aviation asset means you can talk about helicopters, drones, aircrafts, etc. So how we could integrate these things in the exercise, that was the major focus. And our present exercise, or this exercise called Prachand Prahaar, this is a continuation of this Purvi Prahar exercise. Okay, now see, platforms and capabilities showcased over here. So first of all, there is a dimension of surveillance. So you can go for monitoring your enemies, what are they doing, what kind of weapons they are having, everything. So for surveillance, we need these drones or unmanned aerial vehicles, long range maritime reconnaissance aircrafts, satellites, etc. So all these are being used over here. Then for striking capabilities, you have monitored, now you want to attack your enemies. To attack, you need fighter aircrafts, artilleries, rocket systems, etc. Okay. Then similarly, here we already talked about drones, but for monitoring purpose, same drones can be used to send some of your weapons, some of your soldiers from one place to the other. So such things are used over here. Then you have helicopters, those will be used. You have space assets that will be used. You have electronic warfare parts that will be used. So overall, all these things are seen in this exercise. Okay, now see, this exercise is very important considering the strategic angle of Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is a strategically located place, that high altitude area is a strategically located area, which is very important. So we can say when we are showing this exercise, we are clearly giving a signal that we are ready for a warfare even at this strategically located region. Okay, and already we are observing India China tensions since last 2 3 4 years. We are continuously observing, not just 2 3, at least 5 years. We are consistently observing tensions between India and China on the border. Then this defense modernization aspect, earlier we were going for traditional things only. Now we are saying that we are going to focus on the technology aspect. We are using artificial intelligence, we are using drones, we are using space based assets, cyber tools, everything we are using. This shows that now our warfare technique or our mindset towards warfare is not going to be traditional, but it has become little modern. We are looking at all these dimensions, and all this program aligns with our integrated theater command vision which we want to develop. Okay, so this is all about this exercise conducted by all the three forces. Clear? Now the next article, Women Unbound. This is an editorial in your The Hindu newspaper. Now this article is important for us for this topic of women empowerment and women's safety. So women's safety, because women are not safe. That's the reason we are discussing this dimension. Okay, and this is important for your prelims as well as mains. Specifically for mains, the public safety is important. Now see, if you can read this previous year question asked in the year 2014, you'll get a brief idea about how broad questions are asked on the same theme. So please read. I'll give you 5 seconds. Please read. So this mains question focuses on sexual violence against women and talks about the legal provisions which are already existing. So you will have to talk about legal provisions in the answers. There are legal provisions, but still such incidents are increasing. So you have to show what are the core reasons, and then you have to talk about the measures that can be taken. So it's a very broad question which is asked. Now, why we are studying this topic? Because we already have laws in India, but still the crimes against women, they're continuously increasing when it comes to safety of women in the public spaces, public areas. We're not in more than this particular number. Now then we have one more data which shows 12.9% rise between 2018 to 2022. The crime against women is increasing. Now if we see National Family Health Survey data, it says that one third of the women in India, they have faced some kind of violence. Now that could be physical violence or any other, but they have faced violence. Women who belong to this age group, 15 to 49. Okay. Then we have this Georgetown Institute's 2023 Women, Peace and Security Index. Now they have jotted down countries, which country seems to be safer for women. And here what they did is they put India in the list of worst 10 countries for political violence against women. So this shows what is our image internationally, what is our stature internationally when it comes to crime against women. Okay, and you can utilize all these data in your answers. You don't need to remember each of that, but at least few data you should certainly remember. Now see, when we talk about crime against women, this will include different kinds of crimes. For example, there will be cruelty by husband or the in-law family members. So 31% of the women, they face this kind of violence. Then there will be kidnapping, abduction. So 19 to 20% women, they are facing this challenge. Then assault on modesty, 18.7%. And there are rape cases somewhere around 7.1%. And there's one important thing which we need to understand, that these rape cases, they are continuously or they are consistently above 30,000 since the year 2012. So since 2012, every year we see this number. Okay, so this is a very pathetic condition in India, we can say, or we're not very happy with these numbers. And when you look at these rape cases, even if there is an FIR registered, even if court trial goes on, the conviction rate is very low. It is somewhere around 27 to 28%. That means three-fourth, 75% of the cases, there is no conviction. We don't see conviction. That's the reason these rape cases, they are consistently in a high number. Now, when our pandemic time was going on, this COVID-19, first wave, second wave, etc. At that time, we got news that the numbers related to crimes against women, they suddenly rose, they suddenly increased. So, what exactly happened? So, when this COVID-19 pandemic took place, at that time people were suffering from economic hardships. Many people lost their job. Many people started using their frustration as a tool, or started using women as a tool, or they started giving that punishment to women because they are frustrated because of economic hardship. Then there was isolation. People were living in isolation. There was reverse migration. Many people who were living in the urban areas, they had to go back to the rural areas, and there the crime rate increased. So somewhere around you can see the number difference, 56%, and that became 64% in the year 2021. Okay, now there is one angle of workplace harassment, workplace sexual harassment. Now that is also very common. You see, in 2022, 422 such incidents are reported. Now you need to understand, this is not the right number to understand the criticality, to understand the depth of this issue, because there will be many cases which will never come out, which will not be reported in newspapers or something. And that's the reason we say that the actual number is way above this. way more than this, maybe 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Okay, because many times what people do, they have some fear. If they go for any complaint against anybody, there's a possibility, there's a fear that they will have to lose their job, and there is a fear of social stigma. So because of this, these workplace harassment cases, they are also consistently increasing. Now, if we talk about the legal framework that exists in India with respect to women's safety, we should know which all laws are present over here. So, for example, we have some international commitments. We have signed some international conventions. For example, this is the famous one which we call as CEDAW, Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. India ratified this in the year 1993. Then we have this Mexico Plan of Action. We have United Nations General Assembly on Gender Equality. Now, if you look at Indian laws specifically, the domestic laws, we'll observe that we have this Immoral Traffic Prevention Act of 1956. We have Indecent Representation of Women Prohibition Act 1986, National Policy for the Empowerment of Women 2001, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, very important act, Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013, again very important act. Then we have this Criminal Law Amendment Act which came in 2013 and 2018. Many amendments were brought in. Our laws were made very strict. And Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, in short, POXO. All these laws are present. You can study all these laws in detail. Here I'm just giving you a brief structure that is existing, the legal framework that is existing in India for safety of women. And apart from these laws, government also comes up with its own initiatives and schemes for ensuring safety of women. For example, we have this Nirbhaya Fund. After this Nirbhaya case, government brought this Nirbhaya Fund. So if there is need of any security to be provided in some regions, some public infrastructure has to be made, some emergency response has to be provided. For that, this Nirbhaya Fund will be utilized. Then we have helpline numbers, 24 by 7 helpline throughout India that is available. Then there are some mobile applications which can be used by women. So there is this Suraksha, Vithu, Amrit personal safety system. All these things are available with us. Then apart from that, government came up with this Ujjwala scheme so that they can prevent trafficking, human trafficking. Then Swadhar Greh scheme to provide shelter, food, etc. and support women who are in distress. All these initiatives are present. Okay. Now apart from that, judiciary is also playing some role. See, I am showing all the roles wherein first I started with laws. Now these are the laws made by our legislature. Now these are the initiatives brought by our executive, and these are the cases in which we saw the judgment from the judiciary. So all different dimensions we can understand how different organs of the government, they are doing some action, taking some action with respect to women's safety. So you see, we have a case called Independent Thought versus Union of India 2017. In this case, what the Supreme Court said, that this marital rape in which minors are involved, that will be a criminal offense. This is first thing. Second, Lakshmi versus Union of India. So there was a case of acid attack. So after this case, after the judgment of this case, there were very heavy regulations brought with respect to the sale of acids. Okay. Then Delhi gang rape case 2012. This led to many amendments in the laws, especially this criminal. Then Lilu versus State of Haryana. Now in this case, it was said that if you have any, if there is some rape survivor, or let's say there's a person who has already faced the incident of rape, and now you're going for the medical checkup or the process that is already existing, we call it as two-finger test. Court said that this test is unconstitutional. It directly hurts the dignity of the individual. And the last one is Vishakha versus state of Rajasthan. Now this one is the case through which we got those Vishakha guidelines. Those Vishakha guidelines are very important with respect to workplace harassment, sexual harassment. Okay, you should have idea about all these laws, initiatives, cases in regard to women's safety. Now moving ahead, if we talk about the fourth article, US defense ties, India needs to keep its eyes open. Now this is important for prelims as well as mains. You can please read this mains previous year question to get an idea about what kind of questions UPSC is focusing on. So I'll give you 5 seconds, please read. Done? So by reading, you'll get brief idea about this thing, that ties between India and US still unable to find for India a position in its global strategy. So India-US relationship is very important. Okay, especially in the 21st century, it is considered to be a major partnership. And that's why a broader question is asked. Now here in this article, we are specifically focusing on defense ties. So that is one dimension of this broader question. Okay. So you see, there was a report called CIPRI report. That report said that India is the second largest arms importer in the entire world. At number one, we have Ukraine. At number second, we have India. Okay. Now the report also says that in recent times, the import has declined with respect to India. So there is 9.3% decline as compared to 2015-2019 data. So they are comparing this data with 2020-24. Okay. Now, when we are importing so much of arms, the major player over there remains, the major exporter for us is Russia. Russia is still our best partner in terms of defense imports. So Russia is supplying somewhere around 36% of our arms. But interestingly, Russia has been our partner since many years. But nowadays what we are observing is a trend wherein United States of America is emerging as a major player in this, or a major partner in this when it comes to defense partnership or defense trade. So what we observe, USA is providing us avionics, surveillance and aircraft systems. We are mostly relying on USA for these things. So when you look at the key highlights, or what kind of defense ties we are having when it comes to India and US relationship. So we are having many military exercises together. For example, Yuddha Abhyas, Vajra Prahar, Malabar exercise, etc. We are importing many arms. For example, this C-17 Globemasters, Apache helicopter, Chinook helicopter, P-8I Poseidon aircraft. Then we did some foundational agreements with United States of America. These foundational agreements are very important for good defense ties between these two countries. So if there is any kind of a war, these foundational agreements are going to play a key role in that, because India and US can go for interoperability. They can support each other. So for example, Lemo in 2016, COMCASA, BECA, these are foundational agreements. Then we have industrial cooperation also. So many a times we go for some some projects wherein US company will be involved, Indian company will also be involved, some kind of that thing. So that is there. And technology transfer, this is one dimension. Now all these are good things. This is the area which India doesn't like. Why? Because if we are going for any project, when we are building something, USA says we are not going to give you complete technology. We will have the hold over technology. Now this is one problem when it comes to India defense ties. Now there are some strategic concerns for us. The concern involve the dependency aspect and autonomy aspect. India wants to remain strategically autonomous. We want to take our own decisions. But when you are dependent on one country for your defense products or defense arms, then you cannot be autonomous. That country is somehow going to control you. For example, we have these indigenous jets like Tejas, AMCA, etc. But for these things also, we are very much dependent on the engines from United States. So let's say you're operating this jet, suddenly you need a part, you have to reach to USA. And that's where this autonomy will be reduced. There will be dependence. And if there is over dependence, then that will become difficult for us, especially in times of crisis, in times of a war. If you want to take any action, you suddenly require some parts, you suddenly require some jets, you suddenly require some arms, and suddenly USA says will not give you. Now this is something, a, a difficult thing for us. Then lack of R&D symmetry and technology access. See, when you compare USA and India, we see that there is asymmetry. We are not equals. In research and development part, USA is way ahead. In the technology access part, USA is way ahead. So there is asymmetry. So equal partnership doesn't seem to be possible when it comes to India and US relationship. And India probably will become buyer and not co-developer. We want to become co-developer. That is just like BrahMos we developed with Russia. That was co-development. When it comes to USA, it seems we are more becoming a buyer of US arms. So that is a strategic concern for us. Okay. So these are the total 4 articles that we have discussed. Now, as far as our 5th article is concerned, judiciary between a rock and hard place moment. So we had already discussed about judiciary and that NJSE in our 27th March article. Okay. So the link will be provided in the comment box, in the description box. You can directly reach out to this video and watch it. You can get a good idea about NJSE. Then the second article, or the 6th last article, related to free movement regime between India and Myanmar. This was also covered in the daily news analysis of 14th February 2025. So here you will see free movement regime and Myanmar border. So it was covered. You can again watch this if you want to. The links will be provided to you in this video. So go for it. Okay. Now let's move ahead with the practice questions. So if we start with the mains practice question, India's deep sea aspirations are driven by economic potential and strategic necessity. Examine the technological, environmental, and geopolitical challenges and suggest a roadmap to make India a global leader in deep sea exploration. Exactly similar question can be expected in the mains examination. So what you'll do is you'll start with this introduction related to your Matsya 6000 or the Samudrayaan project or your deep ocean mission. Okay, start your introduction with this. Then talk about the importance, why we are interested in this deep sea exploration, which I have discussed already. That there's strategic importance, economic importance, scientific importance, all that, environmental importance. Then what kind of challenges we are going to face or we are facing right now, all those challenges, environmental, institutional, technological, and then you can give some way forward. So the way I had arranged the way forward, short term, medium term, long term, you can write this way. Or if you want to just jot down the points, if you don't remember which one is short term, which one is medium term, then you can jot down one after the other. Okay, this is how you can end it. Now the questions from the daily news analysis for the previous day, that is yesterday. So one question related to goods and services tax, that is GST. CGST and SGSTs are levied on interstate supplies of goods and services. Wrong. It's not interstate, it's intrastate. IGST is levied and collected by the central government and shared with the states. That's true. GST was introduced through the 101st Constitutional Amendment Act. That's true. So 2 and 3B is the right answer. Then next question, what is the purpose of District Mineral Foundation? Promoting mineral exploration activities? No. Protecting the interest of the persons affected by mining operations? Yes. Authorizing state governments to issue licenses for mineral exploration? No. Only 2 is the right answer. It's a factual question and this District Mineral Foundation is very important. You have to revise this even before examination. Then India Bioeconomy Report 2024. The biopharma sector is the largest contributor to India's bioeconomy. That is 100% true. We read this report. And Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana are the top three contributing states in India's bioeconomy in 2024. That is also factually correct. So C, both 1 and 2 is the right answer. Okay. Now we have some questions as homework for you. Okay. So you can read this question, pause the video, read the entire question. I'll give you the answer, or you'll get that answer tomorrow in the daily news analysis. And if you want the answer right now, so you will get the link in the comment box, in the description box. Just click on that link and attempt the question over there. You'll get the answer directly. Okay, so this is the first question related to India-US defense ties. The second article, so the second question is related to military exercises. So this exercise Prachand Prahaar. Again, you can pause the video and read it. And the last is legal and institutional framework for women's safety in India. So again, you can pause and read it. Okay, so these are your questions as part of your homework. We'll meet in the next session, in the next daily news analysis. Thank you so much for joining.